Hey guys, and how's it going? This is another Will It Run video on Trains with Shane. This is a little bit of a hastily thrown together video. I've just been busy and haven't really had time. I've got a bunch of stuff I can record. I just haven't had time to do it yet. This is actually getting recorded the evening of Easter Sunday, March 31st, the day before the video is supposed to be out. So, let's get into it. What I've got here is an Atlas GP38 in Chessie System colors for the C&O, Chesapeake and Ohio, 4829. Newer-ish decoder ready. So it's not ancient, but it's also not new. A new Atlas would have this box and this type of stuff on it, look a little different. You'll see this one in a later video, which I also don't have time to record. But I picked this one up off of eBay, and I paid a lot more money than I should have for it, for a couple of different reasons. Well, a couple of different sub-reasons, but really one big reason. So, first off, let me get this out of the box. Let's take a quick look at it. I haven't even had the top off this yet. Looks pretty good. Got our classic Chessie yellow, orange, and I'm not sure what they call this blue. It's not a navy blue. Maybe it is. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty decent looking unit. See if I can extricate this out of here without destroying it. It's in there. I keep bumping the camera. There we go. All right. You can tell GP38 by the two stacks and the two exhaust fans. GP40 would have 3, and one large single exhaust right here where there is an air box for a 38. Pretty clean. Decent detail. Most everything's where it should be. Let me get you guys zoomed in here a little bit. Something I've not seen on other models. The cab-mounted headlights are painted yellow. The surrounds, which that's pretty cool. I've not seen that before. Got our horn. Got our separate MU receptacle next to the folding step of the pilot. Got our plow installed already. Pretty decent tank detail for what it is. Got some warning signs there that might be legible with magnification. Same on the front. No separately applied details to speak of, but that's not why I wanted it. I think this is DC. I mean, it says decoder ready on it, so I'm assuming it's not decoder equipped. Although I did pick this up second hand, so it might very well have a drop-in decoder in it. Our wheels have some wear on them, but they're not really crusty looking. That one there might have a little bit of gunk on it. Same on our back trucks. That one, this wheel here looks like it might be a little scongy. Same here. This side looks okay. Yeah, so we might have to give those a little bit of attention. So I mentioned a moment ago that I paid more than I should have for this. And of course, a couple of days after this arrives, and bear in mind, I've been on the lookout for an N-scale Chessie GP38 for a while. And of course, a couple of days after this arrives, a guy shows up on Facebook Marketplace with like 2 or 3 of them for higher than normal prices, but still something I could stomach paying. So, you're asking yourself, Shane, why is a Chessie GP38 worth so much to you? For those of you guys who don't know, or maybe new to the channel or haven't watched a lot of my videos, I started out in HO scale. Well, that's technically not true. I had an O-gauge Lionel Steam set when I was very young, but my first real foray into what I would consider actual model railroading was around 1990-ish, maybe 91, when I was 10 or 11 years old. My dad got me a set from Michaels, MJ Designs, which was, Michaels is still around these days. I don't know, they might not exist where you are, but they're a hobby store, arts and crafts, more so arts and crafts than anything, but they had a pretty decent section, especially back in the 80s, of scale model kits, plastic model kits, Estes brand rocketry kits, and you could also get model railroad stuff. HO scale was more common by far than N scale was, at least in my area back then. And my dad bought me a set, and the one he bought me was a lifelike set. I don't remember which set in particular it was. It may have been the Rail Blaster or the Diesel Blaster or whatever, Blaster, Master Blaster. But what I do remember is it had a Chessie System GP38 in this color scheme, and a Chessie caboose, a couple of cars, a particular power pack, and these are just the weird details that I remember back from when I was a kid. And it was an oval track that was pretty big. It took up the majority of a 4x8 sheet of plywood, which my dad painted for me, just real cheap with some masking tape, and he sprayed green on it, you know, and used that to make some roads and some stuff. And it had a trellis bridge that was like almost the left-hand entire third. Like, say if this was the whole oval, the trellis bridge would go up and reach its peak on the left and then come back down, if I remember any of this right. And I think that was all part of that set. I don't think there were any additional components to that. I wore that set out. It was in our garage, and I can't tell you how many times I ran that train off of the track going too fast, and I never destroyed it, but that set, much more so than my Lionel set that I had when I was probably 5, 6, 7 years old, really stood out in my mind. And it was really what I consider my first foray into model railroading. I was old enough to understand some stuff, and I was able to put the track together by myself and do all that. The track was never nailed down to any of that at any point. It was just always loose, and I wasn't incredibly mechanical, but I was fairly mechanically inclined for a 10-year-old, you know, as well as one could be. I could, you know, take the wheels off of a bicycle, change a tube, put them back on, things like that. But that set that Dad bought for me was just very special in my memory. And we moved when I was around 13 years old. We moved from the house we were in, of course, another house, oh, I don't know, about 20, 30 minutes away. Obviously, it really wasn't that far, but the house that we moved into, while it was bigger, didn't have a dedicated garage. And the garage was where we stored a bunch of stuff. So unfortunately, a bunch of stuff didn't make the move. And that train set and that 4x8 sheet of plywood, which you could call my first layout, didn't come with us. A bunch of our bicycles and stuff didn't come with us. Just a bunch of stuff, random stuff, didn't make it. And that reason, more than anything else, is why I didn't really do much model railroading until I was probably, gosh, in my 30s. And I'm 44 now. But when I got back sort of half-heartedly into model railroading about 10 years ago, I got into HO scale because I've got a little bit more room now than I did when I was 13. And one of the first things I did was I researched about that old set, that old lifelike set, and I figured out what that unit was, that Chessie unit, and figured out that it was a GP38. And I've got one. I went on eBay and I found one in pristine condition, as much as a lifelike unit from that era can be. You know, a pancake motor, one driven truck. You know, they weren't great, but when you're 10 years old, they're awesome. And I model N scale predominantly, as most of you guys know, and I've just been looking for a Chessie GP38. And Shane, why don't you have one custom painted? Your friend Mario does a lot of custom paint and stuff. Why not just have him paint up a GP38 in Chessie colors? Trust me, guys, that crossed my mind a bunch of times. The trouble is, neither he nor I could find a decal set for it. Microscale just never has them in stock on their website. I've searched eBay, I've searched the internet in large. Not as much as I have for my MKT stripes and stuff, but I've looked and I couldn't find any. And I knew that this Atlas unit existed, and every now and then I'd search for one. And I hadn't been able to find one in the years that I've been searching. And then, of course, like I said, I find this one on eBay. Apparently, I'm not the only one that wants one, because I had to outbid at least 2 guys that were willing to pay too much to get this thing, and I did. And the only reason I was willing to do that was because the sentiment and the love for my first set, that's really closely tied to memories of my dad, who I've just been missing a lot lately, as you do. He's been gone over 6 years now, and anything I can do that ties me to a memory of him, I do. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. If you guys are fortunate enough that your dad's still around and you still talk to him, just if y'all are on good terms, then then consider yourselves lucky. I had a lot of good years with my dad, and I wish he were still around to have a few more. Because I'd be sharing this type of stuff with him. Anyway, enough about that. What do you say we get this thing onto a test track, find out what it does, or what it doesn't do? I will get myself squared away here, and I will see you guys over there. Alright guys, we are on the switching layout, and we've got our GP38 set up. Let's turn on our power, pick a direction, and dial up some voltage. Oh, a little bit of a stutter. Here we go. A little bit jerky. All right, let's bring her back. Yep, a little jerky. Not great. So as you guys saw in the first segment there, some of the wheels were kind of scongy. So I'm going to take care of that off camera. You guys have seen me clean wheels before. I'll get that taken care of, and I'll bring you guys right back when we're done. Alright guys, I decided to show it anyway. So, we've got our mechanism here out of the shell. It's easy, you just pull down. Cameo of our GP30 from last time. Alright, so, as you can see, we're definitely crusty here for sure. So, how do I clean wheels? Well, I get a little more aggressive than a lot of people tend to, because I have found that when wheels are this crusty, your normal maintenance stuff, like using either isopropyl alcohol or mineral spirits or whatever your light solvent of choice is, won't touch this crusty crap. And most times, not even your little things where you set it on the track and the track cleaner is like built into the little, it's a little contraption that you put the thing on, and it can juice the locomotive, but it's got scrubby brushes underneath the wheels. I don't even think those would touch this. So what I've got is a high grit piece of sandpaper, very, very fine grit. You know, we're not using 80. You can see where I've done a bunch of these in the past. And what I do is I take the famous electrodes that I have connected to your standard DC power pack, and I dial up a little bit of current, and I go straight to the side frames here. It's a regular split frame chassis. Obviously this won't work on a DCC unit, but you know, if you're ingenuitive enough, you can either swap in a DC board on a lot of these things, or you can wiggle the truck, or you can split the frame, take the trucks off, put them on another unit that's DC. If worse comes to worse, you can do this manually by scrubbing, rotate your engine by hand a little bit, scrub, rotate your engine by hand a little bit, scrub. I've done that, it sucks. So if you can use the mechanism to your advantage. See, I've dialed in a little current here. I'm going to the side frame. And as you can see, we're rolling. So, I'll dial up a little bit more speed. You do not have to use a heavy touch on this, guys. You just touch it to your wheels while they're rotating. You'll hear the motor bog down a little bit. That's normal. You don't want to stop it. So you have to balance your pressure here. And you're sanding off the crappy stuff that's accumulated. Let the paper do the work for you. Don't force it. Don't bear down hard on it. Just let it do the work for you. I'm going to stop and show you what it looks like once one is done. See how clean we're getting here? Of course you can't because you're not zoomed in. See, that's not scum there in the middle. That's just a wear groove from the usage. You see it's even bigger on the other side. So you just do that to all 8 wheels, or all 12 if you're doing a 6-axle, or 16 if you're doing a DD40 and you're just a glutton for punishment. So I'm going to do the rest of these off camera, and once I'm done, I will bring you guys back. Okay guys, we're back after our cleaning. I also threw some label oil in there and cleaned the inside of the running gear a little bit. It looks like either this thing has either never been maintained or hasn't been in a long time, because whatever lubricant was on there, at least up inside the frame halves, looked like earwax. So that was not good. So I got all of our wheels cleaned up, nice and shiny. Let's see how we get on. Not bad. Let's go the other way. No stutters, no jerks. Well, at least aside from the one holding the camera. Let's go back. Full power. All right. So I would call that a win, guys. I don't know about you. Let's get you in close under the light here and see how well we did. See how clean these are now, fellas? It makes all of the difference. Electricity does not like passing through stuff. It likes conductive materials only, not insulators. And random track pickup crap wheel gunk is an insulator. So we took what was a good looking but kind of crappily running engine, and with a tiny bit of elbow grease, we have a good runner. So will it run? Yes, it will. And with that, guys, I want to thank you for joining me on another Will It Run episode, on another used piece of stuff from eBay, on another episode of Trains with Shane. And until next time, stay safe. I'll see you soon. And this one's dedicated to my dad.